something to say, something to say.
So the next step is just go ahead and pull off the differential housing. Now, you see right here in the bottom, the differential is still held in by 2 more screws. So I can just go ahead and pop those guys off. I probably could have been a little bit more organized in this, but hey, it's a Sunday night. I don't have a whole lot to do right now, other than the obvious. You guys, you're enjoying the, the fruits of my labor, so I figure you can indulge me as I bounce around a little bit. Oh, here's another little, just those who watch my channel know I like to throw in quick tips every now and then. Here's a little quick tip for you. I picked up this little kit here, of bits, little Ryobi set. It's kind of nice, but then these are all standard. I had to find metrics. So for the ones that I use more commonly, my 1.5, 2, and 2.5, I just put a little stripe right there so I can quickly identify that those are my 3 main ones. The little bronze stripe that you see on them. So that's just an easy way to help me keep all my stuff together, or help keep things straight. All right, so back to the actual work. Big dog. Set that one there. Okay, and I'll put this one here. All right. So now, okay. So this guy just pops up. Oh, and of course I screwed myself because I put this thing in or hold it in place, and I was hoping to hold it down. All right, so now this just pops up as an assembly, just like that. Now, I'm going to have to take off these 2 screws here that hold on my shock towers, because they also serve the purpose of holding in or holding the 2 halves of the differential together. Somebody thought that was a good idea. Actually, no, it's these 2. Okay, and of course I got the wrong size. One. Just setting all those together so I don't lose them. And that will be 2. A little bit premature there. It's not completely out. There we go. Alright. So now I can flip this guy over. And there's my differential. And there are the halves coming apart. So, just to make life easier, I'm just going to go ahead and pull these other 2 screws out so I can have it fully separated so I can show you what's going on in here. And there's my differential falling out. Okay, there we go. So now I've successfully done a differentialectomy. So let me just set this whole thing as an assembly off to the side. Now I can look over here, and here is what the inside of your differential looks like. Now you see, this guy hasn't been open in a little while. So Now, inside your differential, you've got differential oil. And for the slashes, they're kind of set up interesting. They use a very stiff oil up front. And, well, it's not very, but a fairly stiff oil up front. And then they use a pretty mild oil in the back. I think it's like 30,000 in the rear, and like something like more like 50 up front. I need to look that up and double check it for you guys. But you know, so for speed runners, you know, oftentimes you see people go through a lot of pains to get in, and they you know, try all sorts of combinations. But essentially what you usually try to do is lock the differentials so that you get very little differential action at all, and just basically have these guys just you know, just acting like a, you know, as a solid locked spool. I'm not quite there. I think that a differential action, if you're on a good surface and you're not spinning the wheels, then you shouldn't really care of what your differential is doing. So having something tighter, I think, is good, because, you know, you don't have to worry too much about random things going on, but essentially you're going in a straight line. But the way I look at it, if I have all four wheels on the ground, well loaded, I shouldn't be slipping. And if I do get a little bit of slip, you know, I'm pushing four wheels simultaneously with the four-wheel drive. So the front axle and the back axle are locked. So I'm really not going to get very much wheel spin anyway. So I don't really think that you really have to spend a whole lot of time trying to really tune your differential fluid for this particular application, just because, you know, in order for, if one wheel loses traction, the other three are still locked together to the ground, so you're not really going to see any kind of wheel spin or anything that happens. So, you know, you're good. This is a long-winded way of saying you're good. So anyway, looking at the differential here, you've got this bearing right here on the outside. Put that here. You've got this bearing right here on the inside. Okay. So again, referring to my little chart here. Okay, what is this guy? This guy looks, is that a 10 by 15 by 4? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And this guy right here looks like that's too big. Yeah, I think this is an 8 by 16 by 5. Yeah, that looks like it's about right. Okay, so again, I can go over here to my kit and got one of these guys. One, I actually got it. Okay, so this guy can go right here. Actually, I picked the wrong one. There we go. That guy goes there. And now these guys here. That goes here. Okay. All right. So now this can go back together here. Now, also, you notice there's more grease in here. As I talked about on the last, on my bearing benchmarking video, I don't like metal on metal going through with no lubrication. So I like to put a little bit of grease. I probably overdid it in here, but honestly, you know, any excess grease just gets thrown out of the way and sits along the side. So yeah, I made a mess inside of there, but it's doing two good things. It's keeping my the extra grease is keeping water from getting into everything. Now, if I was a really good boy, I would probably go through and clean all this up right now, and you know, like degrease everything and then re-grease it. But I'm looking at it and it looks pretty clean. I mean, it's clean. There's not sand or silt or garbage in it. You know, everything is greasy, but you know, there's not dirt in it. So I'm going to make an executive decision to just go ahead and leave it. It's just running nice and smooth. I think we're pretty good. You know, and what that tells me is that we basically were not leaking anything in here. So basically there's no external crud making its way in here getting stuck. We're not getting dirt and all kind of gunk in here. So I'm good with it. Now I'm sure someone out there is going to scream at me for that decision, but there are things that warrant a lot of extra work and there are things that do not. So just to get you guys to yell at me even more, I'm going to do this. This is grease that was on the bottom, out of the way, still clean. Just going to put in the gears. I want to do this. Just run it through. And this is just putting a nice light coat of grease on the gears. Now all this is going to be thrown out as soon as I put it at speed. If you've watched the benchmarking video, you'll see that it's semi-violent. So all this will be thrown out. Only thing that will be left in will be a light film, which will basically dry up because of the heat. So basically you'll just have a nice smooth action going through. So we'll be good. Alright, so let me go ahead and put this guy back in place. So after I get this guy done, the next step along the way is the bell cranks. So just one moment. Got that. Alright, so now I can put the shock tower back in line. Put back slides in place here. Perfect. So let's get that one little retaining guy. So just put that in. That's just going to hold it in place for a second. So now I can put those guys back in. And all these screws are hiding around the corner here. One, two, three, four of these guys right here. All right. And just a little thing I do when I'm tightening stuff up, my screwdriver has a clutch on it. You have to be careful when tightening in the plastic parts. You can over torque it and then strip it out. So I usually set my torque setting to 4. That's enough to get me a nice snug fit, and then I hand tighten it just to make sure everything's good on that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go on down to 2. Just to make sure that I don't over tighten. Because if you strip these things out, life can suck. Okay. There we go. So like I said, once I get it to go off, then I just go back in and hand tighten it. That's called dexterity, folks. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. And did I put the wrong screw in here? Nope, that's right. Okay. Nope, that's wrong. I should have put in these little guys. There we go. That's the one downside with these jobs. No matter how good your memory is, there's a lot of parts in these cars. And it's very easy to get things a little bit confused. So coming up with a system to help you keep everything straight can save you a lot of effort. It can be a godsend. Okay. Alright, that's good. And again, I'm just going to double check by hand just to make sure that everything's seated properly. Okay, so down here, get these 2 big dogs. Gotta hold the differential in place. Of course, it works a lot better. My hands have grease on them, and I could not get enough friction to pull the stupid bit out. Okay. Check. Okay. Boom. That one had a little slip to it, so that's good. Good thing I double checked that one. All right. So those bearings are out of the way. So now, last but not least, we get to go after the bell cranks. And I'll be honest, this is the first time I've actually looked at pulling apart the bell cranks in one of these guys. So you know what I'm going to do? Just to keep everything from flying all around, I'm going to go ahead and put the pegs back in and secure that back before I take apart the front part. Just part of how I like to work. I try to keep the number of random assemblies down, just so that I have fewer pieces at play. Fewer pieces at play means it's more difficult. It's more difficult to have things disappear on you, and God knows stuff has a habit of disappearing on me. All right. Now, also one little thing that I sometimes do is just put a little bit of lubrication on these here, because you know you do have a lot of action going through. As you can see here, these are pretty stiff. I mean, you don't want them to bind up, but this is pretty well insulated. You're not getting stuff inside of there. But, you know, again, every little bit helps. So, here's our little retainer. Let me wipe this thing down because he is dirty. So that guy gets on here. There we go. Hold that in place. Change bits. Perfect. Ooh, interesting. I screwed that one up. Pull that back off. No, that's not right. Huh. Okay, that's it. I had it upside down. Why didn't you guys tell me I had it upside down? I'm sure one of you guys was sitting out there like, dude, that's upside down. Okay, maybe it wasn't upside down. Now it definitely is upside down. Let's try this one more time. This goes in like here. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, so that's in. Let's got that. Now, let's go ahead and crack open this differential again. Now, if I had mad skills, as they used to say when I was a youngin', I might be able to just get in here and somehow get that bearing out without having to do the full teardown on the front. But my skills aren't as mad as they used to be, so I'm just going to have to go ahead and pull this guy apart. It's okay. Only thing injured is my pride. Now that I know what I'm doing, the process should be a little bit smoother. Now I've got this apart, I've got this here, pull that guy off. Now pull out the pegs. This separates. Got the differential still holding on here. Need to pull out shock towers. Singular, not plural. Okay, that's that. And this is here. Alright, beautiful. There we go. So now, pull this guy out again. I got the differential apart. Pull it here. And now with the front off like this, I can pull this guy out. So pull that guy right off like that. And now this is kind of cool because this is actually double. I'm gonna use one of these pins here. Push out this guy in the middle. And push out this one. There we go. Let's look at these guys. Now that's okay. So again, same size. For the heck of it, put them on. Let's do a check, and they're both still sliding really nice. So these are still in like new condition. Okay, and these were replaced by these two guys. Go ahead and throw these bad boys back in place. So again, one goes on the inside and one on the outside. So I'm pressing on the outside one, and I'm pressing in the inside one. And I can go ahead and just set this guy on here. Just push on through. Beautiful. Now differential. Drop it in place. Just like that. Now this guy goes back on. Lovely. And I can turn it, I can feel the action. Nice. So I can just go ahead and put the gear back on. Well, not gear, but this guy. I'm not really sure what to call this guy. The retainer, the yoke. I'm sure it has a proper name. I don't know what it is. But whatever that thing is, I'm going to go ahead and put him back on. And this nice in here. Now I can screw it in place using my hand tool. Now again, this is one of those things that does not need to be really super torqued in place. Because it's got, you can kind of see on it, if it focuses, it's got Loctite on it. It's not going to work its way out. All you need to do is make sure that it's in there snug. And life will be nice and gravy. Am I in the wrong hole? Yeah. No, not in the wrong hole. The hole's not lined up. So, there we go. Okay, what's going on here? There we go. I was on the wrong side. It's much easier to screw something into something that actually has threads. Who would have thunk it? Now I'm just going to rant for a second. I know that someone at Traxxas thought this was a good idea, having the two halves just kind of be hanging loose like this, and it works. When you have it, everything pieced together, it all fits together, it works. Life is good. But when you are pulling things apart and wrestling things around and having them always pop open, that's not as friendly. And I can't even put in a screw to hold them together because I'll just have to take it right back off. But you know what? It's okay, because you don't take these things apart very often. So I can I can give you a pass, Traxxas. I guess I'm just in a generous mood today. Alright. So, now that those are together, I'm going to put it back together in a slightly different order. Retaining bolt, retaining screw, supported from the bottom. Change my torque back down to 2 so I don't over tighten. I'm a moron. No, I got the right ones. Oh yeah. Remember what I said about screws going in a lot easier if you actually have the right sized bit? Alright. Done. Okay. So now I can go ahead and put the pins back in. This guy back on. Have to make sure that it sits properly. Okay. And again, hand checking these things is never a bad idea. Now, if I was racing every weekend and I had to do frequent differential changes or things like that, I would probably just be able to knock these things out in no time flat. But I'm not that guy. You know, and I built this guy from the ground up. So I'm pretty familiar and pretty comfortable with the innards. But being comfortable and familiar with does not necessarily equate to speed. That sounded like Lamont there for a second from Bashers United. Get that speed. Alright. So I heard the little clicks, but again, a little hand check. Yep. There's a little bit more to go on that one. A little bit more on that one. I could have just increased the torque setting on my little driver, but you know, sometimes I like to feel it. Alrighty.